Hey kids, it's time to get some SML podcast all up in that.
What's up, everybody? This is the SML podcast. I'm your host, Joe. Joining as usual, Cole. How are you doing?
I didn't die between the last show and this one, so I guess I'm all right.
Progress.
It's a low bar these days.
Very low bar. That is what we are known for. SML. We are known for our low bars, and we constantly fail to get over them. Joining us, it is a PartyCast. We got Pernell and Chris here. How are you two doing?
It's kind of funny that she made that statement about that, because not even 10 minutes ago, I just typed to a person, getting through a day in and of itself is a major accomplishment. Celebrate that shit. So there you go. Very apropos. I'm doing all right. Snow kept me in the house now.
Chris, how about you?
Oh, yeah.
I don't like going last because
there we go.
when I go last, I can't think of anything more depressing than what the other two have said.
Hey! First of all, what I said was not depressing. It is an accomplishment. Why would you not celebrate succeeding, making it through another day?
I know.
Oh.
I'm just saying it's a dour sentiment.
I find it amazing because I tend to think of myself as overly optimistic to a point that it's disgusting. And then you're like, no, you have the most depressing intros. Get the fuck out of here.
Okay, you know what? Here's a happy-go-lucky one for you. I don't know what it is about today, but I've been up buying one of those giant bags of Jelly Belly jelly beans. And I got really nostalgic when I ate one today for a grade school thing where my fifth and sixth grade art class teacher, she would make the kids clean up all their desk spaces before leaving. Yet, whoever got it done first was rewarded with a single Jelly Belly bean. One bean. One bean.
How powerful a motivator was
planted
it?
in the ground?
No, hey, you would think, but no, we ate that shit, and we busted our asses to win it.
Of course you ate that shit. You win a jelly bean, you're going to eat the jelly bean.
That's right, and we were excited to get it. It was the best thing, and for a good 2 years, I had no idea where she got them from. I just knew she had a jelly bean that tasted like a marshmallow, and I had to have it. And I worked hard to get it every class, and sometimes the bully kids would try to take your bean from you, and then you got to beat the crap out of them because you can't have my damn bean. This is mine, and I worked for it. So honestly, I think about that now. Can you imagine a kid in grade school in the present being told, "Here's your one Jelly Belly bean. Thank you for doing a good job." Kiss my ass, teacher.
So we have a guest with us this week.
Have y'all ever had those jelly beans that have some of them have sweet flavors, but some of them they have some of them will taste like vomit or earwax, but you never know which ones they are. Imagine if the teacher had those.
That's like
You get a jelly bean.
It's
booger. How do you know what booger tastes like?
Hey, I'm not saying, they're not my words, it's theirs.
The speculation.
Spend all that time cleaning out your desk, take a jelly bean only to find out that it tastes exactly like your dirty desk. Not that I would know.
Oh, Jesus. I wanted to be thematic.
Maybe that's where the jelly beans were actually coming from.
Ugh.
What's the name of the flavor? Rusty Nail.
The jelly bean desk note to just leave them for
Lead paint.
it was the 80s, so I guess.
Asbestos flavored. Yay.
We have them all.
We have a guest joining us this week, game developer Adam Smith. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to introduce you. We're doing a horrible job of it. But jelly beans. All right.
I don't mind just chilling and talking.
Yeah, I give him some credit though. He rolled right with it. He was like, you know what? They won't shut up. I'm jumping in that pool.
I watched my fair share of Joe Rogan. I know how these things play out.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to jump in, and Pernell will shut up eventually. But
hey! If it ain't me, it'll be Cole. We're mouthy.
I resemble this remark. I do not like it. Who do I report this to?
Unfortunately, Joe is HR, so you're kind of screwed.
Hold on. Let me put my hair up so I can ask to speak to a manager.
Oh, God.
That is so weird.
It's
I
okay.
am the manager.
It doesn't work. I'm not blonde, so it doesn't work the same.
Got the straight hair curved all over to one side.
Yeah, I don't. My hair is curly and red, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, you're no Karen.
Oh, man. So, Adam, how are you? You're here to talk about your game Lost Caves, just launched on Steam. For the people who don't know what Lost Caves is, give us the sales pitch.
So yeah, Lost Caves is a collectathon all about treasure hunting and exploration. You control Michael Meitner, who, after a journey deep into a mine in the California desert, finds some gold on the wall, tries to dig it out, and the entire mine collapses all around him, and he falls deep into a hole into the earth, finding himself in a large underground complex of caverns. These complex of caverns turns out to house an ancient civilization, and where there's ancient civilizations, there's treasure. So while trying to find a way out, Michael doesn't want to leave himself empty-handed. So the game's all about exploring your way through 4 different caverns with treasure scattered around every corner. There is, I believe, 87 different unique treasures for you to pick up, each with different wealth amounts to them. And the more wealth that you accumulate, the further you can progress.
Pernell, how much treasure did you get?
Well, I gotta say, I didn't get all the treasure, but I did I did go through every door. And
did you get to the boss?
I did, and I'm just gonna throw this out there right now. That is some masochistic shit right there. But I beat him. But it is masochistic.
Well, beat her.
Yes, like, oh yeah, I guess it does make sense. She does lay a bunch of the little the mole buggers, but
she is the queen.
But I did beat that boss, and I did receive what I won't spoil for anybody who plays to the point and gets to as well. But I earned the thing that you get for beating her, and I was like, all right, time for the second part of the game. Let's see what I can do with this new thingy. And it was like, game over. No! Because to put in perspective for you, Joe offered me the code, and I put it in the PC just to be like, I'm going to boot this up just to make sure there's no issues with it running or whatever. And I played through the whole game. Like, I booted up to check it and ended up finishing it. So
it's one of those games where you just lose yourself in it.
What I think about is like short, yes. However, if it was just short, I still wouldn't have completed it in that one sitting. I completed it because I was hooked. It reminded me very much of like a sort of Commodore 64 type game with as far as the music goes and the like. And
yeah.
It drew me right the heck in. And of course, the idea of getting unique treasures from chests by finding them with jumping and a pickaxe. I could just keep going down that road, but you get the point. Doing that is actually a surprisingly addictive measure. Like, it felt good to be like, I got this new thing. And yeah, it's like you get a cool blurb of text, and you get the image of what you acquired every time you get something. And as you mentioned in your descriptive, the purpose of the money is to further find your way into other areas of the ruins, because each door has a gold cap that was required to get inside. But despite breaking and exceeding that cap to get to the next room, I still was like, nope, gotta keep looking, gotta keep hunting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know why I couldn't stop. I know you understand why I couldn't stop, don't you? I hope you do, because you designed the game.
Having unique treasures was, something I wanted to do for a long time. And actually the whole unique treasure, because again, just to reiterate to those who don't know, every single treasure in the entire game is unique. It has its own description and everything, its own image. Some of them are a little bit similar, but for the most part, everything is unique. Initially, it wasn't like that. A lot of that time you'd get repeat objects, but I knew at some point I wanted to have everything be unique because just like in your case, it's a powerful motivator. Everything has its own little blurb of text, a little lore with it. So you kind of want to figure out what the next thing is.
There was one more mention. There is one more reason though. You are right about that, because every time I got a treasure, I didn't look it up and see what is this? What is it about? What's the description? But the other thing that you slapped in there, which just kind of just nods at you if you don't do it right, is at the entrance to every ruin, there's a statue with a treasure chest on it and a little gauge that goes up akin to a thermometer. Yep. And the more treasure you get, the higher the gauge goes. So if you're like, well, my treasure color modifier changed, time to leave. You're walking out the door, it's like, wait a minute. That gauge has more mercury to fill in. I can get more
only halfway. What the hell? I'm bad at this.
Oh, no, not bad. It's more like, that's only halfway. Time to go back. I got work to do. You don't leave until you mine the place out. That's the rule.
Exactly.
And that honestly makes a world of difference. It basically pointed and laughed at you to say, if you leave without this thing being maxed out, what are you even doing here?
Yeah,
aren't you a man of treasure?
They'll just stay there laughing at you, taunting you.
Exactly. Like
I've had people that'll spend like hours in some of these levels, especially like the third and fourth one, which are massive. And they'll be spending like hours going all over the place, finding treasures and stuff. I mean, I was honestly shocked seeing how much time people spent in this game. Cause I mean, it's, based on my playthroughs and some of the beta testers playthroughs, it's only about, I think it's maybe 2-3 hours. I've seen people on Steam that have like 7 hours logged into this game.
Really?
And it blows my mind.
Holy cow. And it does add a bit of an inquiry though. Like how long would you say it took you, not so much to program it, but to map the areas out? And I ask that because, kind of like you said, the first area seems like kind of like, normal size for like this type of game. Like you play Spelunky, you've seen this size of a stage. And then you get to the second level and it's like, wow, this is a pretty big environment. Like I'm still here. What's going on?
Yeah. So I kind of, it's actually almost a weakness of mine that I have a tendency to make very large levels, and it doesn't even apply to just this. Like I play a lot of Super Mario Maker 2 on my Switch, and even those levels that I make in that game get like way too big because I'm always, and especially like, in Lost Caves, you got all these branching paths, and when I'm designing it, I don't really have like a master plan of everything. I may have a general idea of what I want to do, but I'll make a long like tunnel. I'll have a branch come out of it. I'll be like, oh, what if I did this? Oh, but maybe I'll make this other branch. You can go around it and do this. And what if I put some treasure over there? And I just, I keep doing that. And eventually I've got this like, 10,000 square foot level. That's actually pretty small, but Michael, the player you play as, is also kind of small. So I guess that's actually pretty big. But I tend to go pretty overboard on these levels, and I was worried maybe it would be a little bit overwhelming for some players, but I mean, so far everyone seems to love it.
Overwhelming my ass. The real question is, I want more.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a question, Pernell.
It's
complete.
Please phrase your question in the form of an answer.
I do plan to add more content to the game though over time. This first part of the game is kind of like the first chapter. I'm planning to release it episodically, kind of like I believe Deltarune. I believe it's kind of released in the same manner. So after this, I'm going to be working on the next chapter, hoping I can do that a little bit quicker than the first chapter, because the first this game took about a little more than 3 years to develop.
Oh mercy!
So I'm hoping the next major chapter will be a little bit take a little bit less time, and I imagine it will. I've got the reason this first chapter took so long is because I was developing the whole player, how everything worked, the physics. I got all that pretty much nailed down, so everything else is pretty much just more level, more enemies, more puzzles and stuff. So I think I can knock that out pretty quickly, and I'm looking forward to it.
So I got to know, 3 years of your life, the levels are massive, hours of playtime put into this. How are you only selling this for $1?
So I'll do one better. I was initially going to give this for free. Because I was, I already work a full-time job. I didn't really need the money, but people at the same time, I started to eventually, late in development, I started to actually put money into the game. Like I paid for a Unity license, which is like $40 a month. I bought Adobe Creative Suite. That's another $40 a month. Had to pay to put this on Steam. That's $100. It all adds up, and I was thinking to myself, I'm putting a lot of money into this. And after getting some advice from some people, I decided to charge just a little bit of money for it. I'm just a small indie developer. A lot of people may overlook me. So maybe if I make it a little cheap, some people may turn the other way and give it a shot. But after people have been playing it and checking it out, I've had the game played on a couple of streams, actually. And everyone's always like, man, you're selling this for only 99 cents. Like, that's the price of a McDonald's McDouble. You should be charging more for this. So with that in mind, I'm planning to raise the price this Friday up to $3.99. So the first week is it's 99 cents to be a kind of an early adopter reward to the people that have supported the game over the years, and to the first few people that come across it. But after that, it'll go up to $3.99. And
still, $3.99 is really good for this game.
Yeah, I don't want to go too much higher. I feel like a lot of games they'll charge it for like $10.99 for like a 3-hour game, and I don't know, it just seems like too much to me. I feel like $3.99 is at the perfect spot for me, but then right when I add more content and put in a significant update, I'll up the price up another $3 or $4, and slowly, the price will accumulate over time. But people who got the game before the price will get all that stuff for free.
That's really awesome. Are you going to be releasing them as updates, free updates to the game, or are you looking into DLC or Lost Caves 2?
So they'll all be free updates. So if you bought the game now, when that update comes around, you'll have that for free. But if you haven't bought that game, the price will go up another, few dollars. So maybe it'll be, $8 or so when that update comes out. And so you'll have to pay for that. But if you had it already, you won't have to worry about it. You'll get that free content.
That's really cool. That is an awesome way to handle things, and more developers should do that.
Yeah, I like getting money for it, but I do really care a lot more about just people playing the game and enjoying it. I've actually been checking pretty frequently, like online, like on YouTube and stuff, seeing if people have played it and have made videos on it. And I was a little bit surprised. I checked on YouTube this morning and I found like four Let's Plays of it. And they're all like really small YouTubers, nothing big, but it was just kind of cool that people liked the game enough to actually want to make a video of it.
So, well, it hits a number of good notes, though. Like first thing, it's got the retro vibe, which it does hook a lot of people. Two, it's got a level of challenge to it that doesn't require you to like sit down and try to break the game. It's just playing it with the limited rules, the limited move set, but you have to play well with that move set. And then, of course, you have a fantastic OST, because the music, I think, is really good. And then lastly, it's just the general vibe of exploration. One more chest, one more coin, one more jerk bag bouncing asshole statue, the essentials. But I think you pretty much nail a number of notes that make you want to sit down and just keep playing this game.
Yeah, I'm glad everyone seems to think that. It motivates me even more to want to make more content of it, because I'm not going to lie, when I was developing this and getting it up onto the and getting to the beta testing phase, I was actually pretty nervous about the kind of level design and sort of gameplay loop that I had established, because the last time people had played it fully was back in 2019, and I only had the first and second level fully completed, and that was a really short experience and kind of bite size. But now you're doing this kind of treasure collection and exploring for like much longer, and I was worried people would get a little bit burnt out, but it seems to be the complete opposite. And you're a testament to that. People just seem to want more.
Yeah, it's always just finding more stuff. Like it's the go-to. Think about it. Going all the way back to like N64, or even some Super Nintendo games. It's the idea of like, okay, this level has X number of gobbledygooks, got to collect those. But there's also 100 hidden Shucklebuckles, got to find those. But under that bridge, there's a McGoinkle, which doesn't do anything for me, but I still want it because it's hidden.
You gotta have it. It's like
almost
Pernell,
you have a way with words.
They're great words, you know. But I am curious. Like, what? Like I said, I have two questions. The first one should be probably is an easier one to answer. What is the dog associated with you in some way?
You mean the dog statue, the little the shrine?
Yes.
Yes. It's actually it's a tribute to our family dog. Isabella was her name. She passed away almost about a year ago. And I felt like it was a way to honor her. So I added it to my game, and the treasure you get, actually, the little hex ball, it was actually meant to represent her favorite toy. So I just felt like it was a nice way to honor her. You know, game design, development, it's my bread and butter. So just seemed appropriate.
Appropriate it was, because I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I wonder if there's a story behind it. And lo and behold, there is a story behind
Absolutely.
it.
That is
and
awesome.
Then the second question, and the more literal one, what inspired you to make this game?
So, Lost Caves actually dates all the way back to 2011. I was playing a lot of Kirby games at that time, and I was particularly playing Kirby Superstar Ultra, the DS version of Kirby Superstar. So those who don't know, Kirby Superstar and Superstar Ultra is kind of like a compilation game. It has a lot of smaller, bite-sized games inside of it that can be, you know, between 5 to 10 minutes in length to a couple hours. One of those games is called The Great Cave Offensive, where Kirby is going off on an adventure. He falls into a hole in the ground and wakes up in this large complex of caverns. Pretty much the exact same premise that Lost Caves has. Although I guess it's vice versa, actually, because my game came afterwards. But the whole goal of the game in Great Cave Offensive is to return to the surface, but there's also a treasure all over the place. So your secondary goal is to also accumulate as much wealth as you can by finding treasure scattered around. In Great Cave Offensive, though, the treasure is actually completely optional. You could leave you could play through the entire game without picking up a single chest.
There ain't nobody doing that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you got to get all that satisfaction. And so I kind of wanted to make a game all about that. And it went through a couple of different phases. I was thinking about making Lost Caves, you know, maybe like a roguelike. I made a prototype of it back in 2014. I played around with a lot of different ideas. But I didn't really start developing it until 2017 for a class in college. But it initially takes inspiration from Great Cave Offensive, but I also incorporate a lot of different things in there, particularly Super Mario 64, because Super Mario 64 is a collectathon with collecting power stars and a bunch of different levels. You've got that hub room. Lost Caves follows pretty much the exact same formula as that, just in 2 dimensions. And aesthetically wise, it also takes inspiration from Cave Story with the kind of limited color palette and small, cute characters. In fact, the character you play as in Lost Caves, Michael Miner is his name. He actually resembles a quote from Cave Story a little bit.
Okay. But
a lot of also different small stuff here and there that takes inspiration from, but those are kind of the big 3.
Well, I think I'm glad that's what your inspiration, because everything you named there is pretty much quality. You didn't make any comments like, you know, I was playing, Leisure Suit Larry, the bad one, the other day, and it just inspired me to make a game.
Yeah. What really is kind of really cool to see, though, is that whenever someone talks about my game, they never actually think that it never reminds them of sometimes it reminds them of Cave Story, but it never reminds them of the other 2 games like Great Cave Offensive or Super Mario 64. Every single person seems to have like a different game that it reminds them of. People have said Pitfall 2, Commander Keen, Spelunky, obviously, DuckTales, Shovel Knight. Everyone seems to have like a different game that it reminds them of, and it's kind of cool seeing that. And I can also take inspiration from those games and apply that to later content.
Well, you know how it goes when it comes to games. Like, people have, like, even if someone has played the Great Cave Offensive, what ends up happening is usually people have specific games that fall at the top of their list, the ones that stand out the most just from sheer love of the product. So the moment something strikes that fancy, they don't look for anything else. They're like, it hits the game I want to talk about. Yeah. It reminds me of that. Yeah. So, like, you might get that one guy he's playing. It's like, it reminds me of NHL 96.
Yeah, exactly.
I see it. So, but honestly, it's all good in the end because if your game makes people feel nostalgic and whistle for good games, not trash games, you are doing something right. Just
absolutely. And I tried to achieve that because, of course, pixel art platformers are really all over the place. You don't really need to look hard for that. But a lot of them don't really, I think, achieve that kind of true retro aesthetic. They really only kind of use pixels because it's easy. So in my case, I actually try to heavily limit my color palette. Lost Caves has a limit of, I believe, 128 different colors, most of which aren't even used because a lot of those colors I have are actually kind of garbage and don't really fit the color palette anyways. But I really try to limit the color count that I have. And I think it kind of helps give a sort of mixture of 8-bit and 16-bit aesthetics and give that sort of 1980s, 1990s nostalgia.
Cole, what are your thoughts on the visuals? I know you're a big stickler for pixel art.
Well, it's not that I don't like pixel art personally, but I think it's just...
It has been done to death.
It's because I see so fucking much of it.
Yeah. And most of it isn't really that good. I mean, some people do a good job with it, but some of the games that I see that use pixel art, like I look at it, I mean, they don't look bad, but I'm just like, why did you need to use pixel art for this? Like, I don't know if you all have played Rogue Legacy before. Yes, but Rogue Legacy, I love that game. And the visuals look good, but it seems like the pixel art, it doesn't really match. It doesn't really seem to belong. And it looks like even the developers themselves know that, because if you play, I haven't played it yet, but I've looked at bits of Rogue Legacy 2, and it doesn't use pixel art at all. And I think they went a good direction for that. But I think one of the reasons is because while you do have big fat pixels, they don't really limit the color palette. So it really just kind of feels like low resolution modern graphics, which is fine. It's not bad. But it doesn't truly give that old 1980s, 1990s vibe.
Yeah, I can see like a lot of people. Sometimes it's like it can be a combination of like if it's easy. Or sometimes it also could be just like a cash grab idea too. Like people love nostalgia, throw some pixels on it, spread it out with a little bit of beat bloop, and it'll make some money.
Nowadays, every developer and their mother does it. So
yeah,
some people kind of want something a little different. And late in development, like when I was marketing this game, I was kind of beating myself over the head because I mean, I'm trying to, when I'm contacting press, a lot of, just like it goes with most developers, a lot of people overlook me or I don't get a response. And I felt like one big part of it was because, my game just looks like another pixel platformer. And so being able to kind of brand it as something that isn't, or there's something that's more than just that, was really tough. But I think it has managed to pay off. And I think people kind of see it as more than just, ye old pixel platformer.
Ye old.
Even if that is a little bit what it is.
I can appreciate that you're just like, yeah, it's a pixel platformer. Yeah. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And Joe likes to call me on it whenever it comes up, especially if we're talking to somebody who made a pixel game. Because he likes to put me on the spot because he's a cunt.
I am. I very much am.
And it's like, I don't necessarily hate that games are pixel art, but we see so much of it, and so rarely is it good.
Exactly. And so
that it often feels like it's a cop-out for like, hey, I didn't know how to do any other kind of art. Thankfully, I don't get that vibe when it comes to Lost Caves. I don't feel like it was just a cop-out. Like you were like, I didn't know what to do, so I did pixel art. It was like, no, it feels like it fits what you wanted for the game.
absolutely. And I mean, there's also not a lot of pixel platformers that have the same formula that Lost Caves has. You know, a lot of those games you see today are usually very linear in their kind of in their level design. You know, you go from point A to point B, or in, you know, Metroidvanias. And for the record, I'm not dissing on these games. You know, I love games like Shovel Knight, Axiom Verge. Those are great games. But they are pretty much, you know, go to point A to point B. Or in, you know, again, in Metroidvanias, you've got point A to point A-1 so that you can get this part, so you can fight this boss, so you can get this upgrade to access this area. It feels open world, but it's really not. So Lost Caves tries to offer a more refreshing experience by offering a more, I guess, sort of relaxed experience where you can kind of explore at your own pace until you get to particularly challenging parts like the final boss.
Yeah, but I gotta ask. You said you've had people play this game and they gave you feedback. How many people said screw you when they fought the final boss?
If you think
there has to have been a few.
If you think the boss is already hard, you should have seen it back when I was in beta testing. Because it would, if you played it back then, it would have destroyed you. It was way harder. The rocks that would fall would be way more. The fire rate when the boss shoots the fireballs at you, it was way more often. It was it took more like hits to damage your shell. It was way harder. I nerfed the heck out of her. So if you think it's hard now, you should have seen what it was last time.
So now I'm going to ask: were you able to beat the boss before you nerfed it?
Oh yeah, of course. You know, it was hard. You know, it frustrated me a couple of times, but I was able to beat it. But since I was able to beat it and I was able to get the hang of it, I wasn't able to really tell how difficult it really was. And now that you know, people gave me feedback on it, I was like, oh crap, this thing really is a kind of a handful, to put it lightly. So I had to nerf it quite a bit. But there, I don't know if it happened to you at all, but I have gotten feedback where, have you ever tried hitting it with the cannon and sometimes the boulder that hits it would just bounce off and it wouldn't actually hit it even though you know you hit it?
Yeah, but at the time I just kind of assumed that there was like a sweet spot in the face and then a sweet spot in the chest. I mean, if I was hitting like say in the neck area, it was just like, nah, you didn't hit it where you needed to. It doesn't matter.
I think that was actually a glitch. I thought I fixed it. But after release, someone told me that like they hit it like 7 times during one of the fights, and it wouldn't register as a hit.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I can definitely tell you it didn't happen to me 7 times, and I fought him quite a few times before I got it right. The only thing that happened to me,
that person was just having bad luck.
I will say the only thing that happened to me, though it wasn't like a game breaker, just like that one time I was like, damn, was one time I fired the rock out of the cannon. It bounced back, hits the ground. And you're like, okay, because I missed him. And it hits the ground. I was like, okay, I got to reload the cannon. So I'm like trying to hit the ball back over. And somehow I hit it in a way that I got stuck between the wall and one of the blocks that was appearing where you need to kind of scale up. Because, the first phase, they don't flash in and out. They're just solid. They somehow got stuck in a solid block in the wall. I was like, how the hell did that happen? So
man. I thought I fixed that. Were you able to get it out or did you have to restart the fight?
I don't know. I've died so many times that it just all overlaps, really. Let's just say a wizard did it, and I fought him.
All right.
A wizard did.
But but I still got through him. I beat him, and I feel proud because,
props to you. Yeah.
He was brutal.
Chris, did you want to chime in at all? We haven't heard from you yet.
I was...
Are you playing it?
No, I'm not. I only have one monitor, so I can't play computer games while on the chat.
One monitor? Oh, you're missing out.
Mode.
Well, it's a small desk.
Fair enough.
Speaking of, is Lost Caves getting a windowed mode?
It does have a windowed mode, actually. I tried adding something into the onto the options menu, but I had a a really hard time getting it to work. But I believe if you press Alt Enter, it will actually bring it into windowed mode.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
I do that for multiple games because I don't know games. I figured that out for one game one day, and I was like, "Oh, that's how all games work, I guess."
Yeah, pretty much.
You can tell I don't PC game much.
No, I don't. Okay, so actually, it's funny because Pernell was talking about how the game reminds him of like a Commodore 64 game. I was actually thinking more like Amiga, only because like a lot of the music had the instruments panned hard left and right. Although not all of them, but I was like, I'm hearing drums only in the left ear, so that means this is an Amiga game.
Yeah, so a lot of the so the music comes from a few different sources. So I did write some of it. I did write the main theme that you hear in the title screen, and the music that you hear when you go into the pyramid. That's called the Ruins theme, along with the hub music and the boss theme. But the music that you hear in the levels, like in the levels 1 through 4, those are all composed by a friend of mine, a good friend of mine named I don't actually know her real name. I've only known her on the internet, but she goes by Ardbei, Aardbei, and she's a fantastic chiptune. And so when I started development of the game, I actually reached out to them and asked, "Hey, could I use some of your music for my game?" And they were like totally on board with it. And so I kept using it, and I mean everyone seems to think it's a total banger. So I just couldn't couldn't drop it. So I'm actually in talks with her about getting the rights to the music and everything. But some of the music was also the pre-boss level music was actually made by someone named I think his name was Matthew something. I hope he's not listening to this podcast right now. And
it's okay. No one listens to this podcast.
Well, somebody may listen. He's in the credits. He's in the credits.
Someone may listen. Someone paid attention to our show.
Yeah. But he did the pre-boss music. He did a fantastic job with that too.
But yeah, I do hope that you get it licensed and then kind of packaged together and sell an OST separately, because that's what I like to even on games I review, I like to invest in the OSTs if they're available.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm planning on putting each of the tracks up on my YouTube channel, so that until I get an actual OST album set up, if I do that, people can at least jam out to the music on my YouTube.
Heck yeah. That'll work for my purposes.
Yeah.
I intend to. So
jam out to it while studying or coding or something.
Or while raiding a lost cave.
Or that, exactly.
Well, my thing is I run an obscure music appreciation group on Facebook. It has about 3,000 members in it, and all we do is post obscure music links from YouTube. So
what's some of the stuff that you've shared?
Oh, geez. I'd have to check it.
Weird kind of I don't even know what I could think of. I've heard of some really weird stuff though.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's let's see. We got Stellar Assault on the Saturn. Somebody posted Hades. I'm like, okay,
that's obscure. Yeah. There's a lot of Final Fantasy that gets posted in that group.
Yeah, we don't gatekeep in the group. We always say use your own judgment, so people sometimes are like, oh, Final Fantasy VII Remake is obscure. Maybe I'll post 10 tracks.
Maybe there's that one track that everyone seems to overlook in the game.
Yeah, after so many years, it's like we don't even care anymore.
I do have to say that, speaking of Final Fantasy, I don't know if any of y'all played the Game Boy Advance remake of Final Fantasy I, Dawn of Souls. But the music in that is an absolute banger. I love it. The battle theme, the final boss theme.
Yeah, the chaos theme that they added.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all fantastic. Yeah. And I'll sometimes jam out to that, too.
Yeah, I think
never played that one. So now you got me thinking, did I miss out on a hit?
It's a fantastic game. It's
Yeah.
actually the only Final Fantasy game that I've actually played, because I'm usually not a really crazy RPG person, because I always find that they're really bloated with mechanics, and I usually don't like spending hours trying to figure out how to play a game. But Final Fantasy 1's, really simple, turn-based role-playing game, nothing really fancy. So I got really hooked on it when I first tried it.
Yeah, I love the
man.
original. The original
Yeah.
Final Fantasy. It's actually like top 3 or 4 for me.
I've only played the Game Boy Advance version. I haven't played the NES one.
Oh, that's okay. I have nostalgia for the NES one, but yeah, I beat the Game Boy Advance version too, and it's a very worthy remake.
Absolutely.
Oh, somebody posted one yesterday that got everybody's attention, and it's I don't know how to pronounce. I think this is either Polish or Swedish, but it's Harald Hartand, which stands for Harold Hardtooth. It's a DOS game, and it came out on like Amiga and some other computers things back in the day. And it's a game made by Colgate, where
What?
you play as a
no
tooth.
wonder it's Hardtooth.
Yeah, you play as a tooth, and and your job is to clean other teeth. It's just a game about brushing your teeth. And I'm gonna drop a link into chat and stuff, because everybody that should listen to it, because it has this funk title theme that absolutely slaps. And somebody posted that yesterday, and everybody was in shock because nobody had heard of this before. So,
Are you dropping it in the Twitch chat or in the Skype chat?
both. Anyway.
Oh, nice. Yeah, after this, I'm definitely gonna have to take a listen to it. It kind of, even though it's probably a completely different game, it just kind of reminds me of Chex Quest. Just kind of a game
Got an
made with the
HD
sole
remake,
purpose.
lately.
Yeah, exactly. Although I'm not gonna lie, I could totally see a game about brushing your teeth. Someone making like a Doom mod of that too. Like you're armed with this tube of toothpaste, and you shoot all these teeth coming after you. Instead of them exploding with blood everywhere, they just turn into really exactly. Or you'll just have dirty teeth coming at you, but you blast them with the BFT, big effing tube, and you'll just turn them into nice clean teeth.
And you know what's funny? Like, there actually is a second game about cleaning teeth. Rex Ronan, Experimental Surgeon, on the Super Nintendo. That one's a little less obscure now.
Yeah, that sounds like such a
How's
an
the
extreme
soundtrack in
game
that, Chris?
Brushing your teeth.
My microphone almost unplugged.
Nice.
The soundtrack's pretty average on that one, actually.
Yeah, I was originally going to ask if we could get some Lost Caves music to play on the show, because we play music at the end of the show, but now I'm wondering if I should just play that Hard Tooth song instead.
I mean, go for it.
If you want to do that, that's cool. But I can also send you I can drop a link in the Skype chat for Ardby's SoundCloud, and you can play some of the tracks on there. I believe three of the tracks from Lost Caves are on that. So let me go ahead and find that. They all have some very interesting names on them too. So RB composed both the two level themes from level 1 and levels 2 through 3, and they also made the music for the mini boss. So that one is probably my favorite, which is the boss music, which is called Fama Tracker Pizza. So it was made, of course, on Fama Tracker, which is an NES music DRM that abides by all the limitations.
Which also makes a great pizza.
Yeah, maybe. Let me go ahead and
Dark
find
Mika
that.
in chat. Why does he fucking know about teeth brushing games?
I'm a man of many useless talents.
I'd be shocked if he didn't.
Another question from chat that we have to address that we have to always ask this. Do you have any console plans for the game, like Xbox possibly? Because we are an Xbox heavy show. We got to ask.
So consoles is definitely something I'm thinking about. I'm actually leaning more towards, I'm sorry to say, but I'm actually leaning more towards the Nintendo Switch, because that's got a really big indie scene on it. But it's not something I'm like dead set on doing right now. I kind of want to build the audience on PC first, because I want to make sure there's actually enough of a demand for it on Switch before or any console for that matter, before I start porting it, because porting stuff to consoles is expensive. I mean, I don't know how much it is for PS4, PS5, or the Xbox One or the Series X, but like Nintendo Switch, to get a dev kit for them is $400, and that's on the cheap side. And that's not, talking about all the other expenses that I probably have to go through just to get that on there. So it's not going to be quite something I'm going to think about doing until there's enough of an audience for it. I may put it on mobile devices though pretty soon. I got
throw it on Stadia.
I'm going to be honest with you. I could not care less about Stadia, and I don't think anyone is going to want to play. Because I mean, the only reason you're getting Stadia is if you've got like a little potato PC that can't handle playing a game like Cyberpunk 2077. Lost Caves can run on any machine. I've got this.
I have a potato PC and I don't have a Stadia, so I mean, hey.
Well, yeah, but Lost Caves can run fine on that, so you don't need Stadia for it. I have this old laptop, this Lenovo laptop from 2010. I use it mostly for running Linux, but I can run Lost Caves on that no problem. So I don't think anyone's ever going to need Stadia for my game, and Stadia is already it seems like a dying platform. They just recently they stopped making content exclusive for it.
They killed their first party studios just this week.
Exactly. So I mean, I don't see it. I don't see Lost Caves getting on there at all. if we're gonna be honest. So sorry to break it to you, but consoles like home consoles and mobile devices is definitely something I'm thinking about. But I'm only really going to do it if there's an audience for it. But
I can tell you now one good way to create an audience on Xbox.
Guess what? Talking to you all?
Well, that's not going to work.
No, we're not going to get you an audience at all. No one's going to listen to this.
You also have a decent amount of viewers,
Do you want to hear the trick?
Yeah.
Easy achievements. Gamer score whores will gobble you up.
Who?
Gamer score whores.
Oh, gamer score whores. Is that because of I don't know. I don't play a whole lot of Xbox. How does is achievement hunting a really big thing on there?
Oh yes, very much so. Every game gets 1,000 achievement points. More if you have DLC or expansions. And if you can get an easy 1,000 in a game, people will drop, $5-6 easy for your game if you could complete it in a half hour. It's weird, but there's some publishers who their games they focus on releasing. They'll release full games, but the achievements are just directed at the first quarter of the game.
Oh wow! So people will spend 90% of the time in that one section.
Yeah. So if there's a game with 100 stages, it'll be there will be achievements to beat through level 20, and then you've completed all the achievements.
Oh, gravity!
Yeah, I'm planning to. I mean, just I'm planning to do kind of the same thing with Lost Caves. I mean, I try not to put achievements in every little corner, but I try to put enough there to kind of give another incentive to explore. Did any of you all ever do any of you all have ever completed it and got sort of the post game item? Pernell, did you ever go to that secret area on the far right of level 4, the one that kind of requires a leap of faith?
I did do that, but I didn't have that item at the time of doing so.
Oh, okay.
But the leap of faith was definitely there.
Yeah, I figured people would try it, especially since there's a checkpoint right next to it. So, they'll be like, oh, what the heck, I'll see what happens. And they'll see that little ledge off on the far right as they plummet to their death, and they're like, oh my god, there's something there. But how do I get there?
The funny part is me finding that, it wasn't from the plummet. It was I made the jump. I landed properly. It was if I'm thinking about the right zone, it was the hot spot. I would call the lava area. And it's I landed, and there was no, never mind. I remember we talking about the part where it's you go to the right and the music kind of stops, and it's just clearly an open expanse. Yeah, I jumped straight down, and I think it's like you said, like I was falling down. I was like, well, I'm kind of dead. And I was like, wait a minute, there's a thing that we can do. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go back, and now I'm going to hug the wall. And,
there's that. But there's more up on the. There's if you jump, not to spoil it for you, but if you jump all the way over to the far right, even without the post game item, you will see something there. And when you get the post game item, you'll be able to access it. And there is there's treasure there, but there's also a little something at the that's also there. There's no like treasure, but you do get an achievement for it, and it does kind of offer a few kind of strange questions. These aren't really given a whole lot of context, which is actually kind of a treasure collection aside. That's also kind of a big thing with Lost Caves is a lot of games are really big in putting lore into their games, and I kind of try to do that, but I try not to be super upfront about it. I try to put a lot of stuff in the background, kind of makes the players question what exactly happened to this civilization. I'm sure you saw the big pile of bones and the 5 statues on the thrones with one with the head missing.
I did. The funny part is at first I thought that was going to be like a clue for something. It's like some people have seemed to think that, but there is something in later in that level that does relate to the missing head, but it's not particularly a clue, I guess. See, I'm going to go back to that area and try to make the leap.
Yeah, well, that's it's not related to the treasures, but there is something I think is pretty cool there. And as I add more content to it, you'll kind of get a better idea of what exactly it is. But right now, it's just this kind of isolated little thing that I'll give more payoff in as I add more content.
Oh, and also worth noting, by the way, speaking of that area of the game and whatnot, I will say that I genuinely feel as though you did a good job of working with the dark spaces. Typically, when you play games like this and a developer says, hey, you want to fumble around in the dark like a mook, it's a frustrating ordeal. But I honestly felt like it was appropriate. It was thematically appropriate for this game because it's like, well, he's wearing a hard hat. The hard hat has a light on it. Oh, well, it works.
And I didn't want it to. Light does. I didn't want to have it there for very long either. Initially, I was actually going to have it so that the pyramid was going to be dark for most of the time you were in there, and the switch to turn the lights on would actually not be would actually be on the top of the pyramid instead of kind of at the bottom. But I think having it a little bit earlier on just kind of make it feel rewarding, and seeing everything kind of open up around you and seeing all the stuff you missed. Is a bit rewarding and a bit exciting.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. By the way, I just dropped the music or one of my RB's chiptune playlists. The 2 or the 3 tracks that they made that's in Lost Caves is Vortex Tracker 2 Test, Bama Checker Pizza, and Colors. So if you feel like playing those at the end of the podcast, they're there for you.
Nice. We will include that link in the show notes as well, so people could hit that up and check them out.
Yeah, I mean, RB is super talented, so give them all your support because they absolutely deserve it.
Sweet. Well, I know we've been chatting for quite a while. Is there anything anybody wanted to ask that we didn't touch on yet?
I think I just exploded. I blew his eardrums out, so I'm covered.
Chris, Cole, anything?
I think I'm good. I think
I'm good.
Talked a heck of a lot about this game, and that's...
Yeah, I had a blast.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Awesome having you on. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we let you go?
I guess to those who are watching that have already bought the game, just stay tuned to follow me on Twitter. I post updates pretty regularly on there. I'm already going to be releasing a patch to the game at the end of the week that already addresses a couple of fixes from feedback that I've gotten from players. But I'll also be talking about more content that I'll be adding on there. I'll if you don't mind, actually, I don't mean to shamelessly plug myself, but
please do. Tell us where we could keep up to date with you, and tell us where we can follow you and all the information that we need.
I'll drop my Twitter link onto the chat on here, and then you can post it onto the show notes. But my Twitter handle is ADScomics_. apparently some person took the one without it. I was a little upset to discover that.
What a dick.
But there I usually post updates. I try to do it daily, but I do it at least regularly. And plus, I usually will post stuff up on the Steam page and announcements and stuff as well. And I'll also probably be starting up a Discord server for it as well, so that people who really enjoy the game can all kind of talk about it, talk about different strategies and stuff. I didn't mention it actually, but this game has been around for only, 3 or 4 days. I'm already kind of losing track. And people have already started to find speedrun strategies for it. There's a video out on YouTube of this guy who figured out how to do this super jump trick by using the post-game item. And you can use it to gain a lot of height and find some places that you're not really supposed to be going to. And I think it has some speedrun potential. And I'm kind of designing the game with that in mind, kind of trying to make it pro speedrunner. So I typically try not to patch out any glitches if it enriches the experience. And if I do, I'll probably add them back in like a speedrun mode or something. But follow me on Twitter. I'll post updates on there. Whenever I make that Discord server, I'll mention it on there as well, as long as on the Steam page and an announcement. I think that's all I've got. My mouth is actually starting to get a little bit dry from talking so much.
Well, it has been awesome having you on the show. Again, the game is Lost Caves. It is on Steam right now. If you get it right now, you could get it for $1. It will be going up in price. You said $3.99.
Yep, it'll be going up to $3.99 on Friday.
So chop, get on that. I know Angerth said in chat that he bought it for a relative, and Carnage bought it for himself. So you made 2 sales doing the show.
Fantastic.
That's about as good as we could do for you.
Hey, I mean, some people who watch may not buy it now, but maybe they'll check it out. Maybe they'll buy it later. Every impression matters.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you have any final words before we let you go?
Nope. I think that's all I got. Thank you so much for having me on, Joe.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Sure.
That was really fun. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
I would have to say.
Oh, wait, he's not here. Let's shit talk him instead. What a son of a bitch.
Never.
He's going to listen to the show and he'll be like, oh, they didn't like me. No, he was awesome. That was a fun chat. He was a cool dude. We'll have to get him back on again sometime. Maybe I'll tell him to like hit up Daedalic Games.
Oh, for release? That's a good idea.
Yeah.
They would totally publish that game.
That seems like a perfect fit for Daedalic.
That is exactly their MO, is the small 1 or 2 person game that's just getting started. Yeah.
And then throwing in easy achievements.
Yeah.
Well, some of the games don't have easy achievements, so
that's true.
They could always take the achievement seriously with this one.
And when it comes to this game, like if a game has basically achievements on Steam, do they ever rework the achievements for console releases? Because he already has them on this one.
A lot of times they just carry them over. Port the same achievement list rather than making a new one.
Well, I mean, even if he didn't change them, short of having an achievement for something like get every single treasure, I feel like many of the achievements can be acquired just from playing it like quickly. Because like I said, I beat the game in like maybe 3-4 hours, and I had a fair roster of them just from running around and just looking for treasure, because that's what you do in Lost Caves. You get rich, baby.
Yeah, well, we'll talk more about our thoughts on the game later on in the show, because we have reviews to do. Should we dive into these? I know it's already been an hour. Should we get our asses hauling with some reviews?
Sure thing. Though, just warning you, after the first one, I might have to hit the WC myself. So just throwing it out there.
Now, good thing that there's a gap for you in between your first and second games. No, we're giving you a break so you could go Jacob.
Oh, poor Jacob. He's a good guy.
All right, first game to talk about tonight is called Ys 9 Monstrom Nox, developed by Nihon Falcom, published by NIS America, released February 2nd on PS4 for $59.99, coming to Switch and PC in the summer. While imprisoned in Baldug, Adol is cursed and becomes a monstrum. With his newfound powers, he must stop the Grimwald Nox from consuming the city. Pernell, tell us about Ys 9.
For anybody who just likes Ys games, just going to say go buy it and just be done with it. For anybody else who's
done.
But for anybody else who somehow in this day and age is still like, what the hell is Ys? Well, the Ys franchise is a series of games that chronicles the adventures of Adol Christian throughout the course of his life, pretty much. And in the case of this particular game, it involves him taking a journey to a prison city, having a typical Adol moment, meaning that he gets thrown in prison just for whatever, and he has to make a daring escape, which in the process of making said escape, he gets injected with the Monstrom curse, which allows him to become, I guess, like an alternate version of himself, which gives him special powers. So I kind of chuckle at the thought of it, because if you play the Ys game, most of his sword abilities that he gets through the end of the game are like crazy supernatural light thrusting stuff anyway. So the fact that he gets it from this is like, yes, it's Adol, but now it's red. Whatever. So it's like, it's not particularly like a game shaker, though it's still pretty cool that it happens. And as he escapes the city, he finds himself in a predicament where, due to the curse, he is unable to leave the city. Like, he's trapped there. So the majority of the game, there are some elements that would let you go to like the outskirts and stuff, but for the most part, the game is spent inside the city limits of Baldug, and you are trying to figure out how to escape, how to get out, how to break the curse, and just general elements of what the hell's going on in this city. So the game, unlike some of the earlier Ys games, it's very chapter broken down. Like, they took a note from the Trails of Cold Steel games, and they decided to kind of breaking it up into sections of chapters. Like chapter 1, it has a title. Chapter 2 has a title. And the best way to describe the point of these chapters is that in addition to Adol, there are 5 other Monstrom characters that exist in this town. You're introduced to them all fairly early, but you don't really know anything about them. You just know they are other Monstrom characters that are trapped here with you, stuck doing what you guys do. And what is it that you guys do exactly? And then after I say that, then I'll get to the chapter structure again. I apologize, but I should probably say it. As Monstrom, all the characters are at the beck and call of another person named Aprilis, who summons the characters into a place called basically the Monstrom Nox, or the Grimwald Nox, and they are made to fight monsters there to protect a crystal. Translation: shoehorning the tower defense elements from Ys 8 and throwing them in Ys 9. There you go. But that's what you're doing. And then when they're done, they get sent back to the real world of Baldug, and they have to just kind of hang out there and live their lives until it's time to go back. Each chapter of the game is essentially an element of you learning, trying to get back into the prison to investigate, and in the process of that, you end up learning about one character from the Monstrom crew, and inevitably they end up joining your party because, well, it's Adol. Who would resist his awesome charms? So the gameplay mechanics of the game, aside from the description of a chapter, is it's an action role-playing game. As you're running around the town, you can talk to people, shop at stores, blah, blah, blah. But in addition to that, since you're stuck in the town, you might be asking yourself, well, if you're trapped in town, how do you end up fighting a lot of enemies? I mean, monsters, are they just running around this town? Yes, they kind of are, because there are sort of mini portals to the Grimwald Nox littered about the town. And when you walk up on one, you kind of phase into the Grimwald Nox, and monsters are all over the place. And time freezes essentially for everyone else. Like, you're on the other side, more or less. So the town's standing still, the monsters are kicking the snot out of you, and you are fighting them using a series of special attacks linked to the R trigger button and then the face button to initiate them. And of course, your regular attack, which you'll almost never use, because why? You've got special moves. And then, of course, you can do two things called a flash guard and a flash move. Flash move is if you dodge at the last second of an attack, it lets you move a little faster than enemies for a few seconds and get some quick attacks in. Flash guard is blocking at the last second, and you get a boost to your burst gauge and some stronger attacks on the opponent. Where's the burst gauge? Max it out. Initiated by hitting the two trigger buttons, you go into super powerful, I'm juiced up and I'm not ready to die mode, and you start beating the tar out of guys with increased damage, increased crit, and a bit more speedway. And the gauge for the boosting drains slowly. If you do the boost attack again before you completely run out, you do your ultimate Super Magella move and you beat this tar out of guys, and you feel great about yourself. But I guess, for people who've played Ys games, that all sounds very familiar, and it should, because that's all pretty much par for the course with Ys games as far as combat goes. They haven't really rewritten the formula much since Ys 7. But the thing that I would say that they did with this game that is a bit of a change compared to other games, two things. One, use of the Monstrom powers creates a large amount of exploration in this world. This is probably the most vertical Ys game you will ever play in your life. For example, the second move you get is called Heaven's Run. It allows you to just straight up run up buildings. Any building, any wall. You just run straight up until you run out of boost gauging, and that results in you going to the top of skyscrapers, the top of churches, the top of cathedrals. You're just up and about. And the third ability you get is flight, which allows you to just kind of glide across places. So between the flight and the wall run, you can do damn near anything. If it weren't for the whole Grimwald Nox curse blocking you from certain sections of the city until you unlock them, you'd have free reign from the third character of the game. So, wackiness there. But it's honestly genuinely fun to run around and explore the city. I never grew tired of that. And lastly, the other element that they kind of added and changed a bit more is how they work with the questing system. So I mentioned earlier a reference Trails of Cold Steel and how they work with the chapters. And that applies to the questing system, too. Quests in this game are initiated from a quest board, which tells you where to go to talk to a person. And if you talk to them, they tell you what to do, kill dudes, find items, blah, blah, blah. But some of the quests also, like in Trails of Cold Steel, are hidden, which means they're not on the board, and you just kind of have to stumble across the person in town who's going to give it to you, which means you'll be talking to a lot of people. So if you care about hidden quests, look for green exclamation points above people's heads while you're running through town willy-nilly, because you might spot a guy. I won't ramble much more about the game because I could probably talk a fair bit more about it, but there's not but so much you need me to say. Just know that it is Ys 9, Monstrom. Oh, one last thing I do want to say. There are a lot of treats in this game for fans of the series that have been playing it for years. It's not even a spoiler, it's just flat out stating what's really great is at the very beginning when you get locked up in prison, you're interrogated, and the person just starts running down the 8-old bullet list. How many times have you been shipwrecked? This is some crap. Who does this? And he's like, it's all real. I'm not making it up. It's just, they really ham it up about the fact that Adol goes on crazy adventures, gets cool weapons, and never has them in the next game. It's just cool elements like that where I was like, this is really fucking awesome. There's cool boss throwbacks. There's dialogue throwbacks. It's just, if you've played the earlier games, you will smile a lot while you play this because they clearly know their audience and they're pretty much fan servicing it for us, and it's great. But yeah, for the most part, this game is fantastic. If there was any knock I could possibly give it, it's probably the fact that Ys 8 had you exploring a tropical island, which means there was a lot of room for wacky, cool, beautiful discoveries. But E9, you're in a drab prison town. So a lot of the dungeons are just like underground, like sewers and this, and buildings. So it's not going to make your eyes pop until you go to like more of the Grimwald Knox environments. But overall, it's still a great freaking time. Like, I was not bored. It's a wonderful time. It gets a heavy recommendation from me. And I think if you buy it, you will not come away regretting it.
Cool. So your official verdict at $60?
Absolutely should buy this game.
Cool. Works for me. I'm looking forward to this hitting Switch in the summer. I'll probably pick it up on there.
That's why I bought it for too. So I'm glad I got to review it because I don't have to wait till the summer. Wait.
Yeah, Switch for me, I think too.
Nice. Cole, what about you?
What if I play Ori? Will you less mad?
You are never going to play Ori, so we're fine.
You just don't like anime chins.
Nope.
Oh, well, there it is. See, the truth comes out.
I am unapologetically biased against anime chins.
I want to get an interview with someone who draws anime chins.
Do it, and then I'll be like, "Why do you do this? That's not how anatomy works." For the
Wait,
whole
I gotta ask to confirm this. When you say anime chins, is this like a wacky slang term, or you're actually referring to the chins of anime?
To the pointy ass chins of anime characters.
Christ.
The bitches, how do they even eat their food? They ain't got no jaws. Look, I'm so annoyed my accent's falling out.
Why is such a horrible jawline?
I hate it so bad.
What is wrong with me?
Oh my god. Anyway, next game to talk about is called Citizens Unite Earth Cross Space, developed by Eden Industries, published by KEMCO, released January 28th on the Switch and PS4 for $29.99. This time, the two adventurers have united with brand new elements, recruit 88 citizens with unique abilities to save Earth in both time periods, time travel back and forth between citizens of Earth and citizens of space, unlocking new content and revealing the true ending, unite the citizens to save the timeline from secretive foes operating behind the scenes. Chris, tell us about Citizens Unite.
Okay, well, as the text says, this is an unusual thing, actually. It is a combining of two existing games where now they're linked together, and completing both of them, or completing a requirement in both of them, unlocks additional content, including what they're calling the true ending. The only other thing I can think of that's like that were the Zelda Oracle games. The Oracle of Seasons and Ages.
Yeah.
Which both came out on the Game Boy Color at the same time, and then when you beat one, you got a code, and you beat the other, you got a code, and you put them together or something like that, and then you got to play extra content. So it's kind of like that. So, but yeah, the games themselves are straight up RPGs, which actually I didn't know. I'd come across Citizens Unite a few times in the eShop, and I always passed it over because, I mean, the art style to me, on the Switch especially, would just kind of look like shovelware because it's big, bold, cartoony characters and, with really goofy facial expressions. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be going to be an auto runner or some other.
I'm really surprised you never played these. I always thought these would be right on your radar.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, is that nobody told me about them. So I just kept coming across them in the eShop. And look, I shop through the entire eShop at least twice a week, the entire thing. So yeah, I've come across them many times and never even bothered to check them out. So this is my penance for that, is that now I have played them. So yeah, what they are basically just RPGs. The first game has you playing as the vice president of the world. And the second game has you, and that's in kind of a modern day. It's a little 80s-ish, maybe 90s-ish. So he's not fashioned after any particular vice president, thank God. He's just a very enthusiastic but kind of dumb politician type guy, very much like a Phil Hartman character, on The Simpsons or something. Clearly the voice actor was going for a Phil Hartman style,
He's great,
voice. Yeah, and the second game is, it takes place in space where you're the ambassador of Earth, whose mannerisms are so similar to the other character. They're basically the same character, all the way down to the voice. So I'm thinking that one is related to the other. I haven't come across like solid confirmation of that yet, but like there's hints here and there. So in both games, the similarities are that you go around the world, you're basically like trying to save the Earth in different ways. In the first game, you're trying to save it from like kind of an alien invasion. And then the second one, you're actually trying to find it. The Earth is missing and you're up in space and you have to go find Earth.
Nice.
And figure out what happened to it. Yeah. And they, what it kind of boils down to is like, of course, going around talking to everybody. And there's a massive recruiting system. So like anytime you talk to a character, like most of the characters in the game, honestly, you'll eventually come across a dialogue option to recruit them. And so you do, and hardly any of them will come with you initially. So you have to like do some kind of quest. It could be as simple as a fetch quest of like 3 items that are common. It could be something much more like one of the early characters in Citizens Unite Space requires that you clean up a space station by finding 200 different items laying around, which are, there's shiny spots on the map, so you'll just find them all. But like, yeah, I haven't done that yet for sure. But it's a janitor who is also a blob, so it's kind of funny. And that's the cool thing about it, is that in both games, like, because the one is Earth, and so it's modern, and so it's definitely a satire of like kind of general kind of Americana, which might remind you of Earthbound, and we'll get back to that in a second. Like in the first game, and by the way, I'm jumping between the two games for a very good reason that I'll reveal in a second. But in the first game, like you're recruiting people like a journalist. Well, actually, your first 2 characters are your mother and your brother, and then you can go and recruit a photojournalist and a conspiracy theorist if you can find evidence of like aliens being behind people getting super addicted to moonbucks, quote unquote, which is a very addicting brand of coffee. Things like that. And of course, you can recruit a barista as well. And it's just like I said, all kinds of characters that you can do, and they're all different, but they all do kind of fall into like the kind of typical RPG roles. So there's not like any huge standouts, but it's really cool to like get a new character and like kind of figure out what they're all about. And so in the first game, the other thing is that, you're like in the first area, you're fighting like protesters who are just kind of just protesting you. Like they don't really seem to have any particular vendetta. They just really hate you. And so they fight you, but then you use your mother and your brother to take them down. And of course, your conspiracy theorist, your barrister, your photojournalist, whatever, whoever's in your party, you can obviously, choose. And each game has 44 people or 44 beings to recruit. So there's a lot of like, it's, Suikoden levels of like, oh, who am I going to have in my party, and mess around with. And so, yeah, the difference between them, like gameplay wise, is that the first game is much more, by the way, I don't know if I even specified that the first game is Earth and the second game is space. The first game, you're actually like playing it in like the battle system is very reminiscent of Earthbound and by extension Dragon Quest. It's behind the character's view, and you just choose options and fight. By the way, your main character never fights. Your main character is the leader, so he just stands by and gives the command and then quips, of course, lots and lots and lots of quips. And then, your actual team like does all the fighting. So the way it kind of works is that you have certain moves that will add a light, like there'll be 3 blank spaces, and then a move might add a green light to it, and then a move might cost a green light. So you have to like keep using regular moves to save up those lights, so that you can use a stronger move that will consume them. and then just, repeat, rinse and repeat. So that's actually kind of cool because it keeps you from just, and all of the moves are, they don't cost anything except for that light that you get in the battle. So, and you can actually keep them between battles too. So, if you want to fight an easier enemy and you just use regular moves to take them down, you can then use stronger moves to take down a stronger character or enemy later if you so choose. And so that's like in the first game. And in the second game, it's actually a little closer to the like Mario and Luigi games, or like Mario, what do you call it? What's the Paper Mario? Yeah, well, Paper Mario and the Mario and Luigi games where you fight, and it's more like a side view at that point, like a Final Fantasy, but each character has a potential bonus attack or defense that is wrapped up in a micro mini game. So one character might require you to push the button real fast. One character might require a precise push of something, and you have to react like kind of WarioWare style to like what they're doing. And it doesn't wreck the system if you don't get it, because sometimes those can be challenging for people. It's just a way to get a bonus, really. And so that's really, I actually found the battle systems really fun to do. Like I didn't tire out from the battles at all, like, playing through this thing. And all the enemies are on the map, so if you choose to avoid them, they usually don't even chase you. So but a lot of times an enemy will have a specific item that you might need to be collecting so that you can recruit somebody. So like in that way, the game is kind of pushing you towards fighting a bunch of battles. And of course you want to gain levels and money for new equipment and everything. But the game does not shove, combat down your throat, which I really quite like. And then that brings us to the humor of the game, which is, I like to call this like the shotgun approach to video game humor, where every single thing, everything from flavor text to the voice acting to the dialogue, every bit of dialogue, it has to have some kind of joke in it. Now, the quality varies. It's everything from actual clever jokes to just straight up puns to just alliteration, or just characters being sarcastic at each other. Like the game tries everything on you, and it could get tiring to somebody who doesn't appreciate video game humor. But I think that there's enough hits in here where it's actually worth hanging out. And plus, the voice actors really sound like they're having a ball. It can get irritating at loud volumes, but and the chatter is like the incidental chatter is like not as bad as, well, I mean, I recently beat Xenoblade Chronicles, so I can tell you it's not as bad as that in terms of just random banter. But there's a lot of characters being cartoony and saying things and yelling things and all this other stuff. So it's kind of over the top. It's very colorful and very fun. Both of them are. And yeah, so the bit that I was getting to is that in this game, again, this is something I haven't seen before in a game that's a combination of two existing games. It gives you the ability to switch between the games at any time just by pushing the minus button on the Switch. It will be like, you want to save this game and switch to the other? And you're like, yeah. And then it goes to the other game and you can just play that. And then push the button again if you want to switch back. It doesn't matter. Like, apart from the fact that one takes place in the past and one takes place in the future, and they do have certain little time anomalies where they actually do combine a little bit, and that was added into this combination game. Apart from that, it's just you just play one game and then play the other, and they both have separate timers, separate save slots, and I honestly have never seen that before, and I think it's actually really cool.
Cool.
So yeah, I expected shovelware, and I got my ass handed to me. This is a great game.
Well,
I do have to ask one question.
Go ahead.
What was that, Pernell?
I do want to ask you one question, because I was actually looking forward to this review, because I actually own both Citizens of Earth and Citizens of Space.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, and if you don't know, I totally understand, but do you think they added enough with this weird combination mechanic to make it worth buying it again if you've already owned the two separately?
See, yeah, I can't speak to that because this is the only one I played and I haven't gotten to the special ending yet. So I would say and that kind of wraps into my what I think Joe's inevitable question was.
Yes, your verdict for $30.
So for $30, if you have not played either of these games and you don't own them yet, this is the way to go. So go ahead and get it. And it's 2 full RPGs for $15 that, you know, like I said, you can wrap up and you know, play the end of. And like I said, it's the humor is good, the graphics are good, the battle system is like keeps you coming back, and you know, it's not like the best game in the world, but I mean, what is that KEMCO has published? But to Pernell's question, is it worth it if you already own the other 2 games? I don't know, because I haven't seen the extra ending, but I will say that it seems like, you know, the parts where the games combine are very minimal. And so I wouldn't say that like that part would maybe make it a big sale. It really would have to come back to that extra content at the end of the games. And yeah, I just can't speak to that. So I would say, yeah, buy it if you don't own the games already. Maybe try it and do better research than I did if you already own them. But, you know, I also am definitely the kind of person who has spent about, combined in all total, I've probably spent about $350 on the Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove game, purchasing it multiple times and also kickstarting it and also buying the limited run special edition of it. So it's like, as somebody who has no compunctions about purchasing the same game many times, I would say if you liked owning them separately, then, you know, this is a cool way to experience them kind of like together.
Cool. I'm bummed it didn't release on Xbox, but that's because I'm guessing because Citizens of Earth isn't on Xbox, but Citizens of Space is.
That's interesting.
If people want a taste of the franchise on Xbox, you can pick up Citizens of Space.
And what's the price of that on Xbox?
Oh God, I have no clue.
Okay, I don't know either. Like I said, I want to
say 20, but I don't know for sure.
It's actually like they're like full price games by themselves too.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. Again,
you're getting 2 games for $30, though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that makes sense to me now that I've played them. Like, again, I was like, just looking at the cartoony graphics on the Switch, I was like, I don't know.
See, don't judge a book by its cover, kids.
That's exactly
the lesson
what I
today.
did, and I was wrong, so.
That'll teach you.
Yeah.
Next game is The Dark Eye Chains of Satinav, developed and published by Daedalic Entertainment, released January 27th on Xbox One, Switch, and PS4 for $19.99. Face your destiny in Andergast, whose inhabitants are considered to be notoriously superstitious. King Ephrodon awaits a state visit from high-ranking dignitaries. For centuries, the kingdom has been at odds with the neighboring Nostria, but now first steps are being undertaken towards a lasting peace. Cole, I know you talked about the other Dark Eye game on the last episode, and we believe this is the first of the 2.
Yeah, the second game has made so much more sense to me the more I played through the first. I was like, I get it now. I really, okay. This is why I have that rule of like, I don't like to play shit out of order.
Yeah.
And I did it on accident here. And I spent the whole time with the second one going, I don't know why that matters. Now I know why that matters. So for Chains of Satinav, you actually play the entire game as Jaren. I praised the writing for Memoria a lot based on how well they had wrote the additional female characters. And in Memoria, you actually swap back and forth and play some chapters as Jaren and some as Saja. You don't do that in Chains of Satinav. It's just Jaren. And holy shit, do you realize what a bland motherfucking character he is? I did not realize how much, like, I know I was praising the female characters, but I didn't realize how much weight they were pulling in that game until I played without them in Chains of Satinav. So basically the whole premise here is that Jaren he's a bird catcher. He was present at the execution of the seer when he was a child, and the seer, who was an evil prophet, prior to his death, warned the townsfolk about having Jaren around. So his whole life, he's been called bad luck. And to add insult to injury, he has a magic spell that he can literally only use it to break things. So it wasn't entirely wrong, at least initially. We fast forward a little bit. Jaren's story picks up with him trying to win a favor with the king or an audience with the king, and his face is being pushed down into the pig trough while he's having it out with some of the locals. He's very clearly losing his fight. And it does make it very obvious that bad luck is kind of his forte. As the story progresses, you will solve puzzles. It's a point and click. It's not anything where you're like massively timed or there's no urgency to it. No matter how much he's being drowned in the pig trough, there is never any urgency. You can play the game at your own pace. But you will solve the puzzles, progress the story. As things move on, you discover that Jaren's bad luck continues, and the person that he lives with, who has taught him how to be a bird catcher and stuff, there's an event surrounding that person that leads Jaren on a path where he needs to go and find a fairy girl who is strong enough to play a magical harp to prevent the return of the seer. It's very weird, very much plays into that high fantasy. There are imps, there are orcs. It's what you would expect if you were told you were going to play a fantasy adventure, but with a point and click narrative. Apparently there's like an actual pen and paper style tabletop game based on this series, this world. And like the game, the point and click Daedalic games are like a spin-off of that. I had no idea.
Pernell, do you know anything about the Dark Eye being tabletop?
It is German.
Pernell's not. No, I'm not. I told you what was going down, so I put the phone on mute, baby. But no, honestly, that doesn't ring a bell to me. But now I kind of want to look it up.
Yeah, I believe it's German. But it is a pen and paper tabletop game, and then this is basically a spin-off from that series. Anyway, yeah, you get to explore the world, try to get the fairy to the magic harp, while other shit is going down around you. And there are instances where Jaren has decisions to make, and I have learned that those have absolutely no bearing on the story whatsoever. And this is kind of one of my pet peeves, right up there, not quite as high as animations, but it's up there. When I'm giving an option in a point and click narrative game like this, where I have decisions to make on how I'm going to approach something, I want to feel like those decisions affected the world a little bit. And both Chains of Satinav and Memoria did this, and they don't make a difference at all other than just which achievement pops for you. And it's like, you were so close. Even if it had just made a small change in the world's aesthetic or something, it would have made a difference, rather than it just being like a false sense of reward for, hey, you get to make a choice. Doesn't do anything, but you get to do it. That's a pet peeve of mine. I know a lot of people don't give a fuck. I will say, at least as far as the achievements go, you can save scum it, so it's not too bad. And then you can just get them both and carry on. And then it doesn't matter which save you choose, because it doesn't change anything anyway, no matter what you do. But at least there's that. But yeah, I really enjoy the story. I really enjoy the world. I feel a lot better about the story and and the world as a whole now that I actually like can tie it together and understand what I was doing between the two games. I would definitely say to play them both. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, play them in order. Don't pull on me. But definitely play them both because they are a nice continuation. And I do think that Chains of Satinav helps set up Jaren's story a little better than if you're just like, while I think Memoria has the stronger characters and narrative, it is nice to have that follow through and at least understand some of Jaren's motivation a little more.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, next up is Silver Chains, developed by Cracked Head Games, published by Headup, released January 29th on PS4 and Switch for $24.99. After a mysterious accident, Peter wakes up inside of an abandoned mansion located in rural England. Not knowing how or why he ended up here, he soon begins to realize that he's not alone. Peter tries to find his way out. He starts to uncover the dark secrets of what happened in this place. More disturbingly, he discovers hints indicating that he had been here before. Chris, what's going on in Silver Chains?
Well, for one, you don't wake up inside the mansion. There's this whole running from your crashed car into the mansion to be like, and I don't know why he chose to do that. Maybe to use the phone or something. I don't know.
Had to pee.
He kind of narrates the adventure as you go and stuff like that. So, I don't remember if he ever said anything about why he's coming into the mansion besides feeling compelled. Okay, so this game is, well, for one, I got huge flashbacks to Remothered, which I had reviewed some time ago because there's so many similarities, and I forgot to check whether these two had anything in common. Besides the fact that I think they're both inspired by Konami's PT, their ill-fated demo for a, I suppose it was going to be a Silent Hill game.
Yeah.
But it's that vibe for sure. It's walking around an extremely creepy and very realistic looking mansion kind of thing as weird stuff starts happening, and the game kind of plays with you before it throws jump scare after jump scare at you. This game actually, and I'm not a horror aficionado.
I can hear Cole sobbing on the inside that this isn't on Xbox.
Yep. It hurt.
But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah. I'm not much of a horror aficionado, but I do know that a lot of the ones that I've reviewed and stuff were kind of light on the jump scares. Not this one. This one absolutely will make you throw your headphones at certain points. But that's good. That's the kind of game this is. This is a haunted house type of situation. So the mechanics are basically, you move around in first person mode. And of course, first thing I did was swap the Y-axis because that will allow you to do that, which is great.
Yay.
And, I'm talking about Silver Chains. Dark Miko was asking. And,
she should pay attention more.
Well, she did once I said Remothered. Anywho's, so yeah, your thing is basically to walk around this house and try and figure out what's going on, because you start seeing ghosts and you start reading notes and you start seeing bits of diary and things like that. And just things start happening, and your ever curious, compelled protagonist has to check it out. And basically, yeah, it's all about like I said, you're walking around and the room gets a bit weird. A lot of the ways this game plays with you is, for one, it looks amazing. It maybe not so much the actual characters on the screen. If you get too close to them, they kind of do show a little bit of they don't have quite the gloss that something that Konami or Capcom would have made. would have, but that's okay. That's not a problem. The actual atmosphere of the room, like the lights coming in from the window with dust like dancing in them, like really little details and things like that. Like there's a shine to the background. And, a filthiness, of course, because, it's got it's honestly, even as a person who's not much into horror, like I recognize a cliche when I see it. And, you walk into a bathroom and the bathtub has something floating in it, but the water is really murky and dirty. So, you got to go grab that thing because it's part of a clue that you need. And then what happens? But something grabs you, but then disappears. But describing it sounds goofy, but when it's actually happening, you're just like having a panic attack, And that's the other way that this game really works out is the sound design is great. This game is really good at doing like the quiet thing and then the loud thing, but and using the score to basically underline jump scares and kind of be jump scares of their own. So you hear knocks on the wall or footsteps or something like that, and it actually has the effect of, of making you be like, oh no, what's that? And of course there's, all these different narrow hallways and, doors to open and things like that. And you don't know if the door is going to be locked or if it's going to open up and something's going to kind of jump out at you or whatever. Because we're dealing with ghosts, a lot of them are harmless, except that eventually you do run into, and I won't say what it is, although you can actually see it on most of the game's advertising. It's a monster, essentially, that actually can kill you and does so in one hit. It's very hard to run away from. So the thing is to, dive into a nearby closet, of which the game has many. Again, it's a haunted house type thing. So it's the actual layout of the house makes no sense except in the context of it being a video game. And they really make no apology of that. The kind of because the way that you progress in the game and open up new areas and things like that is through puzzle solving. And the puzzles aren't so bad. I didn't run into any of them that were super challenging, but oftentimes it ends up just being collect this from this part of the house. And usually it's where you just saw a ghost run into and you got to actually go in there and deal with it. And where, hide in the closet for a while. And, but the kind of cool thing about that is that, again, the actual backdrop looks really it's a bit of a misnomer to say, but it's a photorealistic style game. Everything looks really realistic. It's not stylized to look something cartoony or whatever.
No.
Or, macabre or whatever. It looks like a dilapidated house. And, but there is an item that you get. It's a special monocle that you can look through at any point, and it basically kind of gives you an infrared vision for things that you're supposed to collect. So, if you're trying to find something, but you can't because it's the same color as everything else, it's the same level of dirty as everything else or whatnot, then throw on the monocle and, it'll light up and then you'll be able to find it. So the game doesn't really try to be too difficult because it wants you to move from place to place so that it can scare the crap out of you as soon as you cross the invisible line.
Makes sense.
And that actually kind of makes it okay for me because, again, I'm not a jump scare fan. But the fact that, when you're solving puzzles and when you're reading and when you're trying to do all this stuff, there's not a timer until the monster comes and gets you. The monster has it appears in specific places and in specific ways. And so if it kills you or whatever, and then you have to replay a little section over again, it's going to behave in essentially the same way every time. So the game allows you to breathe, which is kind of cool, because it is creepy, but it's not, panic levels through the roof constantly, which Remothered kind of had that a little bit. Remothered kept you tense because you're kind of, in a perpetual, timer where, if the one of the characters got, the evil characters got too close to you, then, they started to chase you, and then that kind of interrupted what you were trying to do. And again, this game, like I said, allows you a little bit more space. But yeah, like I said, all the way down to like the game's about, I'd say 2 to 3 hours long. It's not a very long game unless you're just really bad at puzzles. But the final like part of the game, which takes place in the attic, is so just like Remothered. I was like, and I'm not going to say what happens, or I'm not going to spoil anything, but I am going to say that if you've played through Remothered and you go to the attic in this game, you're like, what the hell is this? I've done this already. But yeah, ultimately it's just all about, getting into the story if you choose to get into the story, but mostly it's just about getting through this haunted house and having it, scare the willies out of you occasionally.
Cool. So $25, your verdict?
$25 I think is fair. Again, it's on the short side, but I think that the quality that went into the design and implementation of everything here makes it worth it. For folks who are looking for something more full-fledged, then I'd say it's a try it. But for people who really enjoyed the PT experience and they wanted that in like, something close to that, but in a full game, absolutely, this is for you.
Cool. All right, next is Manifold Garden, developed and published by William Chyr Studio, released October 20th on Steam for $19.99, also available on Xbox, PS4, and Switch. Rediscover gravity and explore Escher-esque world of impossible architecture, witness infinity in first person, and master its rules to solve physics-defying puzzles, cultivate a garden to open new paths forward where an eternal expanse awaits. Pernell, tell us about Manifold Garden.
Time to make up for what I just did with Ease 9. Let's go. So Manifold Garden is essentially a puzzle game where you can walk, you can run, and you can interact. That is literally all you can do. Well, correction, there's one other thing you can do. You can change your perspective in the form of, I guess, gravity. And that's really all you need for this game to be freaking astounding. You essentially go from wacky architectural structure to wacky architectural structure, and you are tasked with, progressing further. Like, that's literally the goal. And this is usually done in the form of switch puzzles, whether it might be, pressing a button or placing a block onto a tile and opening a door and then progressing forward. And if that was what the game was and the only thing it was, this would be a very boring game, because those are very basic actions. However, the thing that this game does to take a basic premise and turn it into a holy crap, this is awesome premise, is you are able to, at the push of a button, change your perspective to avert gravity. So how do I describe this? Let's say you're in a room with 4 walls and you're walking along the floor and you decide you want to walk on the wall. Well, you walk up to the wall, press the button, the plane of gravity will shift, and now you're walking on the wall, and the former floor is now a wall, and everything shifts with it. This can be done in any room, anywhere in the game. It's bizarre. And some of those blocks I mentioned before where you have to place them, sometimes put them on a switch to make it activate, well, blocks will typically be situations where you can only pick up the block and move it if you're in the right plane of gravity. Otherwise, it's just stuck. So if you're not on the right plane of gravity, let's say I'm holding a block in my hand, right? And I decide to go up to the wall and invert gravity. Well, the block I was holding just kind of floats there where I was holding it, because it's just whatever. It doesn't move. It's just stuck in place. Now, if I go back, the block will fall to the floor because gravity's taking effect again on the block. And they make you do some really weird stuff with these mechanics to get a block to a place where it technically shouldn't be able to go. You'll be doing this a lot. And it may seem bland, but it's really not. And you will be scratching your head quite a bit trying to solve a number of these interactive puzzles. And another thing that's interesting about this game, as far as how the puzzles work, is I mentioned earlier how you go into different structures. Well, you're not always inside these structures. Sometimes you go outside. And when you're outside, what you see is a massive expanse of buildings that just ascend forever and descend forever. They don't stop. And you can just jump, if you want, into the abyss. And you'll fall. And you'll fall. And then if you didn't decide to move around at all, you might notice a familiar structure. It'll be the place you originally jumped from, because the world loops. So you can jump off of a building, just kind of float in space, maneuver yourself, and land on another building if you really feel like it. You can walk on the side of a building sometimes. There are some crazy things this game will do that mess with your head and make simple concepts into complicated concepts. I cannot stress enough how they take something so simple and it becomes something really complicated. And I love it. Love it very much. Architecturally, it's fantastic. It's beautiful. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, the soundtrack is minimal. It's more about the atmosphere than like having cool jingles play as you do stuff. So don't come in here expecting to be bopping your head, but do expect to feel like, oh, how tranquil. Nice. Yeah. Which is good. It fits the atmosphere of the game. And if there's a goal, I don't know what the hell it is. Sometimes you do stuff that seems like it's triggering after a lengthier effect. Maybe you're powering some great machine. Maybe you're actually activating, the fourth dimensional fold, whatever. I don't know what your goal is in the grand scheme of things. But as far as your experience goes, you're solving puzzles with gravity. And it's a blast to do so. And a very wonderful feeling. Like the puzzles don't really feel like there's any stress related to them because you can't die. There's no timer. There's nothing rushing you to accomplish anything. You just do what you want. And hopefully you succeed in the process. I think it's a great game. I'm glad you referred this to me on a whim because I didn't expect what I got. And what I got was majesty. I wholeheartedly recommend this game to puzzle aficionado fans. What is it called? Manifold Garden.
Manifold Garden, $20, your verdict.
Buy the shit out of it.
Yay.
Okay.
I have it on Xbox, so I'm taken care of. I already own it.
Mm.
I did my part.
you committed.
Next game is called Crashlands, developed and published by Norg's favorite company, Butterscotch Shenanigans. Released January 29th on Xbox One for $14.99. Fight and tame alien beasts, craft resources into menacing weaponry, befriend the outlandish locals, and go toe-to-chin with the world-domineering maniac. Our friend Surlyna wrote in a review. This is what she's got to say. Greetings, SML friends and fam. It's your girl Surlyna, and this week I'm reviewing Crashlands for the Xbox One. Developed and published by Butterscotch Shenanigans, Crashlands is an action-adventure survival RPG that has you as Flex Davos, a space delivery driver who, through some mysterious or interesting shenanigans, gets stranded on a deserted planet and must craft her way off the planet and deliver her packages before she loses her Employee of the Month title, streak, and pension. Let's get on to the review. And yes, you read that right. Flux Davos' story is completely ridiculous. Flux is weird. Her faithful floating robotic companion Juicebox is weird. The cosmic space entity, whose name is not only unpronounceable but also quite unspellable, is also weird. The humor in this game is so over-the-top bad that it flips around and is good. I found myself chuckling at the jokes and then thinking about why I was laughing because the jokes are so horrible. The entire story is so corny, but it works. It's cute and I enjoyed it. Let's talk about the gameplay. No, I want to talk about the story. I love the story in this game. I love Butterscotch Shenanigans humor. They also did Levelhead. It is hilarious. Their humor is amazing, and I'm so happy Crashlands came to Xbox. Anyway, she goes on. I will say that I have many hours in survival games. I am fairly obsessed with a certain game whose company was just purchased by Tencent. As such, I am well versed in the genre and Crashlands fits well into it. It's not hard as some of the games I'm used to, but I don't mind that. It was a comfortable, relaxing romp collecting things to craft things to make more things. This is where the game lulls you into complacency. See, once you're ready to actually fight some enemies, you'll quickly realize that if you aren't careful, they will literally crush you to smithereens. The first enemy you fight is a Wompet, and it's so cute. Looks like a little baby rhino, and you just want to pet it until it hits you and takes off an obscene amount of your health. Even with armor, I was stunned at how hard they hit. I immediately snapped back into hardcore survival mode to dispatch them. It's not hard to dispatch the enemies once you understand how they attack and what their weaknesses are. There's also something you can track in your data encyclopedia, which I liked. Any and everything you encounter, resources, monsters, etc., are kept here, and it gives you a little blurb about it. In the case of monsters, it'll tell you their resistances as well, so you can plan accordingly. The way inventory is handled in this game takes a bit of getting used to, but it's not terrible. You literally store everything in Flux's suit, and when she needs a specific item, it spawns immediately so you can use it. It's dark out. Once you've got it, the light source pops out and you can see again. Need to chop down a tree? You can flawlessly use your axe and then transition to your sword to handle a baddie that's wandered into your line of sight. You can even go into your inventory and swap out different types of weapons. For example, the first weapon you build is a sword, but if that's not your style, you can use a hammer or an axe, and those play differently, but you don't lose your other weapons unless you salvage them yourself. It's like Flux is a never-ending bag of holding in that aspect. There's one major thing I did not like, and it's the fact that Flux moves very, very slowly. Oh, she happily prances along, and the animation is cute, but I just frustrated with the movement speed. This can be mitigated with crafting. Speed boosts are an attribute that can be attached to weapons, armor, and the like, but so far I haven't figured out how to do it with any intent. The attributes appear to be random, which is slightly annoying, but it's not a deal breaker for me. Crashlands is available right now on the Xbox One and other platforms for $15, and should you buy this one, you should definitely buy this one. If you're a hardcore crafty survival player or new to the genre, it's got more than enough to keep you satisfied. Not to mention that this game is a labor of love between three brothers. Their story really touched me, and I'm so glad that I got to review this game. Give Butterscotch Shenanigans some love, y'all. So there you go. I know Norg agrees with that. He covered the game a while ago, and he absolutely loved it. So check out Crashlands, people.
Okay.
Yeah, you better. You better.
I have been genuinely curious about Crashlands for a while. I don't know what it is where I was like, I shouldn't. Maybe it was like something about it being like having a ridiculous amount that you can do in it. I don't know. But I've been eyeballing it for a while now, so this might be the trick.
Hey, now it's on console. So do it.
He doesn't have time for it.
Throw it on your 4th of February list.
Actually, I'll give you something really interesting little tidbit here. So, over the course of the last 2 days leading into today, I've been noting every episode I've been on. And I came to realize that the very first episode I did of this show was on December 9th, 2016. It was episode 200. And what was that? 41.
Damn. All these years later, and you're still here.
I know. It's all the drugs.
I know. I do what I can. I don't know. I think the crazier thing is next episode is our 8th anniversary.
Ooh.
It's freaking wild.
8 fucking years.
We all should get
one to that.
It's not. It hasn't happened yet, Chris. It's next week.
Next episode, not next week. Next
episode.
It's
too late. It's already open.
Oh,
our Thursday show.
The old one is cracked.
We're recording this on Tuesday. Technically, our anniversary is Wednesday, so tomorrow we turn 8.
Oh, old enough to drink.
Old enough to drink.
Yes.
Yes. 8 years old. Old enough to get fucked up.
Oh yeah.
Next game to talk about is called Rack in Ruin, developed by Lifespark, published by Secret Item Games, released January 29th on Xbox One for $12.99. Rack in Ruin is a fusion of action RPG and bullet hell shooter, starring Rack, a demonic wizard with an appetite for destruction. Pernell, tell us about Rack in Ruin.
Rack in Ruin is a tried and true tradition of the SML podcast where I get a game I've owned but never played. And then I get the game for review and end up playing it a lot. Because Rack and Ruin is a game I regret not playing sooner. This is a good game. But what the hell is it? Well, it is kind of, I want to say, Zelda-inspired in some ways in the way the game flows. You are Rack, tasked with taking over a planet, specifically because you have a tendency to destroy planets when your boss wants you to actually conquer them so that he can have new slaves to lord over. So you're sent to this planet, told that you can't actually blow it up, but you can wreak havoc upon it. And wreak havoc you do, because your overall goal is to go to the different areas of the map, corrupt them, and turn them to the dark side, essentially. So go to a forest, you go to I guess I would consider like a sort of a central spawn energy point, corrupt the energy point with dark souls harvested from enemies that you killed throughout your play. The area becomes corrupted, and now it's not a forest anymore. Now it's a decaying swamp, complete with angrier, more vicious monsters. Because that's what happens when you corrupt the terrain. Everything becomes meaner and hits harder, which is actually kind of funny because that's your goal, and yet they don't give a crap about you. You're like, well, we're still going to try to fuck you up. And they actually cover that in the story. It's like, well, you can't really control evil people. They do what they want, kind of like me and my boss. I don't give a crap what he wants from me either. It was like, exactly. So there you go. But so that's the main goal of the game. Of course, some small side bits come up later to kind of change the trajectory a bit, but that's your overall trajectory, your overall goal. But how the game plays is as you walk around the maps, your main character fights by using various magic spells. So early on, you get a fireball spell, which doesn't cost any magic. You can just press the attack button and pew pew, you're firing fireballs at enemies. And when you kill them, they usually drop, items or souls, which are currency, and also which you use to corrupt points. In addition to fighting with your spells, more of what you obtain when you beat certain bosses or find certain treasures, but usually it's by beating like a boss and getting a loot item after beating him. But also, you get a lot of different attack items, which are one-use items that when you use them, they might say, let you leave a trail of like slime behind you that hurts enemies, or it might allow you to summon an eyeball that floats around you and fires projectiles, a la like an option from Gradius. And this is generally how the game works. You go to different areas, corrupt them, fight bosses, get more powerful, and progress and proceed. But the game, honestly, is addictive. This is another case of game where I booted it up, started it thinking, just check it out a little bit, and I'll come back to it later after I go to get dinner. And then I proceeded to play it for like 5 hours. I like this trend. I like playing games for longer than I expected. That's a good thing. That happened with this game, too. It usually ends up becoming a matter of like, I want to just one more area. I want to see what the next magic spell is going to be, or I want to see if I can what the next corrupted area is going to look like, because there's cool elements to like where you'll meet a person and he'll be like, hey, I need you to help me do this thing. And your character will respond with like, well, what's in it for me? I don't give a shit about you. And he's like, well, I won't bother you and you get access to this cool room, which might have powers hidden in it. Like, okay, well, now we're talking. It's win-win. I don't have to hear your voice anymore and I get something for it. So you'll end up doing stuff like that. Basically all the quests in the game are meant to hurt people, or ultimately either benefit you or hurt someone else. Hell, one of the currencies in the game is the souls of villagers that died in the situation that you caused, and then you take their souls to a merchant, you sell their souls to him for powered up attacks. Like literally, you'll talk to the souls like, "Oh, woe is me. What's next?" It's like, well, now you're going to get stole off to an old angry wizard man. So sucks to be you, Jimmy. And he just takes it and goes. And it's interesting because typically I don't like playing games where I'm the evil guy. I don't know what it is about me, but I just don't like being evil in my games. And yet somehow in this game, it's still kind of fun. Like, I don't mind it so much. I really wish I didn't have to piss in the garden well, but you know what? Desperate times call for desperate measures. And quite frankly, I want more magical powers. So, I genuinely find this game to be fun. Like, I didn't have any moments where I felt like, man, if only they did more of this, it would be better. Maybe they did more of this, it would be better. It honestly just kind of works, and it works well for me. Like, at most, I wish there were, like, more, I guess, like, dungeon-y items a la Zelda, because, like, there are, like, actual dungeons in the game where when you go into it, it has the room-by-room breakdown. You can find keys hidden in certain areas, which may not even particularly be used in the dungeon itself. It's usually meant to open a door that may have like extra bonus treasures and stuff in it that you'll find like, oh, I'm glad I found this room, but it's not really required to open it. You'll just be glad you did. No. But you're going through the dungeons, beating enemies up, sometimes fighting a mid-boss, overall fighting a big boss, and then you move forward. But I also still enjoy it. You don't get a specific dungeon item again like Zelda, but it didn't hurt it in the long run because you still get enough cool power-ups as you progress through the game. So, in the end, I find this game to be quite great. I wish I played it sooner, but at the end of the day, it makes for a better review because I get to play it for the first time now. And I think that other people would be happy to own it because I purchased it full price when it originally came out. And
you never played it.
And I never played it. It's the Pernell way, man. Doing reviews is a way for me to actually play video games. It's a surprisingly effective method, but it works. And this game is a quality title. It deserves more attention from other gamers, hopefully that are better than me. Play your shit.
Carnage wants to know if you had any issues with the controls. He used the accessories app to remap it to play like a twin stick shooter because what is it? The attack is on the face buttons, right?
From what I remember, I mean, I have to double think it, but the attack button was like the right bump, right trigger, and you used the right thumbstick to direct where your attack was going to go. Like, you don't have to walk in a direction that you want to fire in. I know that for a fact. Because there were definitely times where I was like walking and kind of strafing backwards to shoot bullets at guys that were rushing at me. So maybe they just updated it for this version of the game.
Not too sure, but $13. What do you think?
I think it's worth buying. I think it's a good time.
Cool. Cool.
You know, just let me know if you end up pissing any wells there within my vicinity.
Oh, I will piss in your well water every fucking day, Pernell. Don't you worry about that.
Well, no more water for me. It's all about dehydration.
All about Mountain Dew.
I'm drinking a Major Melon right now.
Oh, are you? I am drinking my last Mountain Dew Spark.
Hiya! See the Mountain Dew, bro.
Yeah, my Mountain Dew Spark. I only had 4 of them, but it was a good drink. It was fun while it lasted.
Now we just got to pick it and pick it at their base and say, "Give us more." Damn it. Give us some, actually, because you had to buy it from like overseas or some crap. So
I just bought it off eBay, not overseas.
Oh, it wasn't overseas. I've never even seen it before. So
it was only at Speedway.
Well, that explains that. We don't have Speedway.
Yeah, raspberry lemonade Mountain Dew, only at Speedway. They don't make it anymore. Drinking my last one. Doesn't matter because we got one final game to talk about, and that's the game we started off with. Final game to discuss tonight is called Lost Caves, developed and published by Adam D. Smith, released January 29th on Steam, and is available for 99 cents until Friday when it jumps up to $3.99. Spelunk, Plunder, and Pickaxe in Lost Caves, a 2D collectathon all about exploration and treasure hunting. Venture through 4 expansive labyrinthine levels to find over 80 unique treasures to amass your wealth, and use your trusty pickaxe to defeat anything and everything in your way. Chris, how about you start off? What did you think of Lost Caves? Chris?
Yes, no.
Chris
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, there you go.
My mic wasn't muted, but I had the Skype muted, and I didn't notice.
Yeah, that'll do it. Chris, tell us about Lost Caves.
You said spelunk, but it sounded like you said splunk, so now it's splunk.
Hey, I did a remix project called Splunk.
Ooh.
Yeah, of Spelunker from the NES.
I remember that, yeah. All right.
It was a joke project. It's pretty bad.
Awesome. I love bad projects.
I'll link it to you later.
But this isn't a bad project. This is a good game. It is and it's funny because I'm like, it's hard for me to think of like things to say about it because we just had that long interview wherein like I think all the details that I wanted to go over like were gone over pretty thoroughly, including stuff that I wasn't able to go over. But yeah, so I'll provide the recap.
Oh, we don't need to discuss the actual game itself. Just what did you think of it?
Oh, I really quite liked it. It was hard to believe. Well, I mean, apart from the soundtrack, I suppose, hard to believe that it was, created by just one person. Because there's a lot of obvious care that went into it. And it's very fun. I think what I like about it is that it doesn't act like like we were talking about. It doesn't act like a Metroidvania, which a game like this very much could. Like I was kind of getting like Elliot's Quest vibes from it because of the kind of minimal pixelated style of it. But just the fact that you can go through these levels and like explore and not have to worry about finding the double jump and whatnot, and that your goal, you can keep your eyes on the prize, as it were, and find all that treasure. And as Pernell had pointed out earlier as well, I really like that that you actually have a treasure gauge that is just kind of subtly there, so that you know how much more you can collect in that stage. So yeah, and again, I had nothing but nice things to say about the soundtrack. I think it's a real good one. And yeah, it's like I only found out today that it's a game that like right now only costs $1, and that was pretty surprising to me.
Yeah, so jump on that while it's still cheap. Cole, what were your thoughts on the game?
I liked it. I thought it's one of those that it's simple to pick up and play, but if you're actually gonna get everything, you're gonna have to spend some time with it. It kind of played on my shiny object syndrome because I kept trying to go after things that I couldn't. And I was sitting there going, I want it, and I will sit here and die trying to get it. And like number one standing over my shoulder going, you can't get that yet. And I was like, watch me. And then I just kept going after it.
I'll get what I want.
So I appreciate that, it kind of poked fun at the way that I play games in a way, because it just kept letting me fuck up.
It's good when games just let you fuck up.
Yeah. Like it doesn't force you to go. If you don't want to go, if you just want to sit there and bang your head against the wall, it's like, go for it.
Yeah. Pernell, your thoughts on the game?
Hard damn game.
Okay. So $4 on this one. What is everybody's verdict?
I think it's worth the $4, honestly, because even when I played it through, it was like, I think I pretty much got like $1 an hour. So it was fun to me. I didn't stop playing until it was done. Worth it.
And I mean, the only thing I would say, if the price is getting raised, and he was talking about adding like, different things and features and improvements and whatnot, the only thing I would tweak a little bit on this one is the frame rate, because it did like act a little choppy on me a few times. So
I didn't have any problems with it. It hung right at 60/61 on mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
I can say I didn't have the problem like that, but the final, the boss that I mentioned on the thing, that is where I feel like I experienced, if there was anything that related to frame rate issues, it would have been there, because that boss hits you with falling rocks, shaky screen, and you got to deal with all this simultaneously, and it's like, what am I missing? Something doesn't feel right. So that was probably frame rate, because I didn't know what else it was.
It sounds like some people got it, some people didn't. But anyway, that was such a minor thing. I mean, that's it. Otherwise, I have no complaints about this game whatsoever. So,
well, I can agree with that. It's a really cool game. Buy it now while it's cheap. Get it Friday,
or buy it when it's expensive, and support that. And support Adam.
buy it Friday when it's not as cheap, but it's still cheap, because $4 is still really cheap for this game.
Yeah.
Or
$4 is fine for this game.
Hold out for a year until Daedalic brings it to console.
There you go. We're gonna hook them up with Daedalic. That's the power of this show.
Daedalic.
Oh man! All right. Well, that is it for this episode. We made it through another one. Big thanks to all of you for being here, hanging out, keeping us company. Thanks to Surly for sending in her review, and thanks to Adam for being here again. The game is Lost Caves. It is on Steam. You could grab it now. Check the show notes for a link to Steam, and we'll get you over there and you could buy the game. Music, I guess we're going to see what I could get off the SoundCloud page and play something from Lost Caves.
Thanks.
So, anyone have any final words to end the show?
Brush your teeth.
Wash your hands.
Get some sleep.
There you go, the healthy modules.
Spelunk. 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 Come on now. Spelunk. Spelunk. Yeah, that's right. Spelunk. Spelunk, 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 spelunk. Yeah, that's how you do it. Spelunk. Spelunk. Yeah. Spelunk. Splunk, 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 shorty, it's your birthday. Splunk, 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 splunk.